going to show us today, Gerald?
I'm going to show you, this is quite a complicated rig. It's sometimes called a Portsmouth dropper, sometimes a loop rib. And I will show you basically how you make one of these up.
Okay, excellent.
Right. Basically, for a free dropper rig, we need the Gemini clip. We need 3 bait stops, 2, 4, 6 crimps, 3 hooks, a cascade, 2 cascades, and our beads, and we will also need a spring plus 2 swivels. Right, that's your basic components now for the rig, plus the line. As far as the line goes, I don't measure. I do this basically a bit by thing. First of all, I tie the...
What breaking strain line would you use for that rig body?
I would use 60 personally.
60 pound, all right,
yeah,
okay.
Because of your possibility of using a 6 ounce lead.
Yeah.
And with 6 ounces, it should be every £10 for every ounce of lead.
Yeah, yeah.
So to start with, I'm going to tie the Gemini clip on. 2, 3. Also a blood knot. Tightened up. Using the lead again to pull.
That's a nice little trick, that, using the lead to tighten it up.
It is, yeah, it is. And then I do this really by, I say guesswork, but that's what the dropper would be. And then you've got your one hook, which I would have about that length, and then the top hook again about that, plus a little bit of spare. It approximately not far short of a metre, maybe a little bit less. Right.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, if you want to get really precise, you could hold it on your nose and hold your arm out. That's the
Well,
length
I
of
did used to do that and
Yeah.
pull it to that,
Yeah,
but yeah, you could, yeah. But basically, I know what kind of fish I'm going to be catching and that. Right. So with this, we don't actually put a. This is the bottom hook. We don't use a
It doesn't use a
crimp.
cascade.
No, you don't use a crimp.
Oh, you don't use a crimp?
Not on the first one because
Oh,
it's
right.
going right to the
Oh,
bottom.
I see. So it's right at the bottom, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't need to put a crimp.
Yeah.
Then you use the swivel.
Yeah.
Same thing. Diamond at one end where you tie your hook length on. Right, same thing, bead.
Right, I see, it's good.
Right, another bead.
Yeah.
This is slightly more complicated than your normal rig. Right, that's that. Now we need 2 crimps.
2 crimps. So the first crimp's for the bottom one, and the second crimp's for the middle one.
As the bottom of the next one. Right, that's your 2 crimps. And then you go with your bead again. Bead again. This time we need a cascade.
Right, just show them a cascade. So show what we mean by cascade.
Now, a cascade is basically it's where you tie your hook onto, hook length onto, and it's also got the clip for the rig above, the hook length above to go to. That goes on, and then another bead. This is a fairly modern invention, actually. I think it basically comes from Portsmouth, I believe.
Well, yeah.
And hence the name Portsmouth. Same thing again now, we need 2 crimps, but this one's slightly different than the next hook because you need a bead, and then we need a spring. The spring takes, so in case you get the tension correct, that, and it holds it slightly, right? The springs you can buy in any tackle shop, I should think, any decent tackle shop. Then another bead, and then same thing, diamond end 1 swivel, and Another bead. And then we tie a slightly larger top swivel on there. This is probably one of the most complicated rigs you can make. Using the lead again to pull the knot up. Here we go. It's about tight. Right. So that's the basic. That's your bottom hook, which I will crimp up in a minute there. That stays there for the dropper. That's your second hook, and that will be your third hook. So we will start by crimping the bottom hook. Right, that's the bottom one crimped. Now we start with the hook length. Same again, we're using black amnesia, so it's easier to see, but it would normally be clear. I do, on my dropper, I do it slightly different than other people, because I found it to be much easier and much neater. You want to be, but then that's down to the length you want on the dropper. You can have it longer or whatever length you feel is right for your kind of fishing. Right, so now we put a crimp on. We get a cascade, and so I don't use another bead on that, I slightly close the looper on the cascade, otherwise the crimp will pull through it. Right, now this is, some people tie it and do it in two pieces, but I don't. I go through the top of the eye on the cascade, through the bottom. Okay, so that's like that. And then we put a bait stop on, and then we put a hook on.
That's very interesting. I don't do that. That's something I've learned. Something else.
What that? The cascade?
Yeah. Well, I use cascades, but I don't. I tie them on, which is
Yeah, I
a
know.
lot of faff, and it's
I'll show you when it's up. It's quite.
yeah.
I've used it a lot and it works. Don't get any problem with hogs not coming unclipped. Now the only thing now you've got to, same as if you was tying it on anyway, you've got to judge about how big a bait you're going to use.
Yeah.
So if you're going to use average size lugworm, it will be about that.
Right.
So you crimp there. So there is your cascade. It's still as it is, like that, as a cascade, and you've only had to tie two lots of knots on.
Okay. Why not put a bead on it?
Because it don't go. Look, I'll show you why. Look, when it goes up, if you had a bead, it would be stuck out, whereas it just goes up and it's nice and neat.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I've tried it with beads and it don't work. Right, I'll start on the second hook now.
Yeah.
Which I'll have a look about the amount I've got to use, which will be about there. Technically, if you really want to, when you're making, if you're going to make several up, you can measure your and everything and do everything, you know,
Like the
yeah, in
production
bulk.
line.
Yeah, do your hook lengths first,
Yeah.
cut them all to the length
Yeah.
and exactly as you want.
I think for me, and I'm sure it's the same for other people, is tying the hooks accurately so that they actually have a little bit of tension on them when they're in the clips.
Oh, it will do, yeah. It's because of the spring.
Yeah.
Right. Right, look about how much I've got at the top, because I want about the same length on my top hook. Right, and then it's going to be clipping approximately about there onto the other rig, so that's about that length. You need a little bit of play on the top one, so when you clip it all together, crimp it all together, it's correct. Right, now this one doing bait stops now. So we've got these bait stops at Tony Stocks.
So you thread the hook snood through
the
wire
loop, yeah,
and
and
then
then
drag it over the bend. Yeah.
Yeah, over the bend, yeah, that's that. And then a cascade.
A cascade, a sequin.
Sequin, yeah, sorry. Good job, you're here. Sequin, and then the hook. I do 3 twists on the blood knot on my hooks as well. I think some people only do 2 sometimes.
What, two times round?
Yeah.
I do 6 or 7.
Oh no, you don't.
I've had them slip.
What, the hooks? No, never ever, no.
Probably I'm thinking of my mate a boat normally. So
Yeah, no. Right, the top one now. What I will do now, actually, is clip that one first to make sure how much I've got for the top one. Right, so it obviously is quicker if you measure it all, because everything will be correct then every time. But a lot of times I only make a few rings, so that's perfect for the top one. So this is I don't get any problems with them being wrong this way.
So you crimp it. That's how I do it. Yeah, that's how I do it. So you're not. You haven't done the crimps up on the cascade.
No, I haven't done the crimps up. So then I'll pull the crimp up to there.
Yeah.
This is a little bit fiddly, but I push it back through. You can do this however you want, and then I've got room there to get my pliers in there. It looks more complicated than it actually is.
Yeah.
Crimp that. And then the top one, obviously leave a little bit of space, because the cascade the idea is they cascade off. That's the design of them. So that's that one. So we know we've got about that much of the top one now. So
we should have loads now, have we? I hope so. Huh? We should have enough feathers now.
I know where the top clip is, so I know that pretty near definite how long I need to make it now. I don't get any problems with it being too long or short by doing it like this. Right, I've got a thing, so I know it's going to come to there, and I've left about 1.5 inches at the top there, or 10 centimetres, whatever. Same thing, through the loop. Yeah, the second one's not as easy as the first one, because your loop gets
pulled tight, doesn't it?
Gets pulled tight. You should loosen it before you pull it up, really. If you was to do that, and loosen the loop up before you pull it off, Right, that comes off. You can use 2 of them bait stops if you want,
Make it a little bit firmer.
Yeah. But for now I just do it with 1. Tony uses 2, he likes 2 on his. Sequins are very not so easy to hold, are they? Right, now you hook. Same thing, you can offset the hooks. I bet go through offsetting them. So you offset your hooks again. Oh, they are slightly offset, these hooks anyway. Yeah, so that's probably okay. Right, so this is the last one now to get the rig correct. Right. Yeah. A lot of people actually, when I used to make them up for selling, we used to have hooks hanging up and do them hanging on hooks, so that it's more, you wouldn't have the problem I'm having now if you did it like that. I sit there watching television doing these, so I don't really want to have it hanging up in the in the garage. That's that one. Then we've got the top one. Right, and this is how you make sure it's all correct now. You put it up, then you've got your spring as well there now.
Okay, to put a bit of tension on it.
Put a bit of tension, so you tension the spring up,
Yeah.
put it up like that, so the spring's got some tension, and then crimp that, and that's a lovely, that is probably the most complicated rig you could probably have, but when it lands, I don't know if you're going to see this on the video, do that, and then it's all unclipped. You've got a dropper below the lead, and you've got 2 hooks above it.
So it's 2 up, 1 down.
Yeah,
But
basically,
with
yeah.
with a Portsmouth
Yeah.
loop
Slight-
at the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that probably for a 3-up rig will cast about as far as any rig you could make.
And of course, with all the rigs that that you do, the size of hook is relative to the fish you're after. So if you were after
Yes.
sole,
Or the bait you're using, yeah. It
but
is,
if you're
yeah.
after sole, you might put smaller hooks on that one, or you might
Possibly.
squeeze them in a bit.
If I was after sole, I did used to use 4s, but I found really, unless you really want to catch some really small soles, the 2s are adequate.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. I don't think I've caught any less by using 2s.
And certainly those work for flounder and
Place especially is a
Yeah.
lovely rig for
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
Yeah.
And of
Although-
course in the winter, whiting and
Oh yeah. Well, if there's lots of whiting in the winter, then you probably do away with the clips. You don't need them.
no. £20, 25.
£20. If you're fishing for whitings and that, and it's rough, then you would use £25. If you're fishing daylight for place and that, then you would use possibly £20 amnesia. And even if you're really concerned that it's really clear, you might go to fluorocarbon. But you know, there was a problem with spider crabs last year biting the hooks off, so I did tend to stick with the amnesia.
Right. Okay.
You got bitten off less.
Yeah. And of course the beauty of amnesia, if it gets a little bit twisted up, you can just slide the fingers
You can
down
straighten
and
it
straighten
out,
it out.
and
Whereas
it's lovely.
fluorocarbon won't. It'll stay.
No, it won't. But it is less visible.
Yeah.
But I'm not over sure what difference it does make. Actually,
Catches a lot of anglers, doesn't it?
possibly yes.
Okay. Fantastic. Thanks very much, Gerald.
That's it.